county's matched it or not, and to define it, cause if it's just ours, that's one thing, if the county matched it and that's all that's left, really, what do we do, right? And if the county's matched it, I think we're good, and we just wash our hands and walk away.
So you don't wanna, you wanna make
Well,
a motion, so you want a
It's
discussion
not
on
even
that?
on there.
maybe we should wait and so we can have it a request for a decision for the next one, cause I don't think it's time sensitive.
Okay.
That can be one of the
I think
items
by
we
having,
need.
it on the agenda, that gives the library a chance to come back. Maybe they have answers to the questions that you asked at the meeting that I missed.
Yeah, they seem to answer any questions that we had, so. But they might,
Gives them a chance.
yeah.
I'll add it to the next agenda. Perfect, thanks, Mark.
If they have an update, if they have no update,
Yeah.
just keep the
Yeah,
lights.
exactly. So with the agenda addendums, all those, any others, any further?
You doing anything confidential?
That's what my curiosity was on how our recruitment's going and things like that, whether it's in camera or not.
There was nothing to report, so.
Okay, then we're good. Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All those in favor? Carried. And scheduled delegations, none. And public delegations, nobody here, so none. And our public works report, page 12, 2D of the agenda. Reports.
What about
2C? I'm sorry.
2C.
2C, peace officers report, pardon me. Seeing they're looking right at me. You can go home now.
You're done.
Darn it.
Or was I bumped back to G or F or whatever?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, at the end, especially after.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we receive for information. Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'd also like to, I thought we had talked about that you only have to come up once every other month or
Thought it was
quarterly.
quarterly.
Right? No, I got.
No, I wasn't,
Rather than take.
I wasn't
all-
sure if that was approved or, but,
I didn't see a motion.
We talked about it and I thought we actually did it, so that.
I don't
Nope,
believe
we
there was a
moved it
motion.
up.
We moved it up.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned why not come in quarterly, and is there a stipend that he has to come here every time?
No,
Anybody?
as far as I know.
No.
Okay, well
You
then,
just
I
do
don't think we
everything
need to
that's
make a
in your
motion, cause there's no rule on when he's supposed to be here. I'll make a motion after this,
Okay.
it'll just satisfy.
I'm indifferent, whatever the council decides.
If there's pressing issues that you think,
Yeah, if there's
or
something,
vice versa, we can,
yeah, I'll attend, yeah.
yeah, it's no different than our points on attending different functions and, you know, if we don't need to be there.
Okay.
Councilor Demack.
I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
Number one, have you hired another peace officer?
We're in
Process?
process, yeah.
Okay. Second question, 26 verbal written warnings, are some of these warnings repeat?
No.
No? Third question, I see that you're negotiating with In the Woods, would there be a cost to us for doing that?
I got back from my days off and it was signed. It's $100 per dog. And that'll include their travel costs, the pickup, and part of the vet bills for spade, neuter, and
Perfect,
shots.
excellent.
So, year to date, we've had 15, 16 dogs, 7 of which were adopted to In the Woods, so. Ultimately, if this agreement was in place, it would have been $700 for 7 dogs, which I feel is more than benefit for the group to cover their costs, so.
Councilor Empton.
There was some discussion earlier that the County of Big Lakes may wish to access our peace officer? Was any other development with that?
I've been the odd discussion with Bill Costu, and he's still drafting agreement. So once that happens, it'll
Come back to us.
we'll come back and
Do we know what, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mayor Fox.
Where have the two portable signs, speed signs, have they been out?
I've been situating one of them here, in the just for the playground because of the skateboard park being used.
There was discussion that they were gonna be left there permanently, rather than being hauled in and out.
Well, it's doable, but they're battery. These two are battery operated, and we have to bring them back in to
Plug them in?
plug them in
Oh, I see.
to charge the batteries.
Yep, recharge battery.
So, I think the life of I'm guessing probably 3 to 4 days, and then we'd have to bring it in, charge it for a day, and take it up.
So how are you doing it now?
Well, I usually just do it during the day while I'm on shift, and then I just bring it back in. I plug it in and take it back out the next day.
Okay. What's happening with the ATCO ones?
Just received a letter back from transportation. They're in agreement. They granted us access, but I have to fill out a permit.
You guys do a permit,
Okay.
development permit.
So it's just a matter of filling out their required documentation and faxing it to the.
Okay, so we'll see them shortly then.
Yeah, ATCO's all on board too. They're gonna wire it in, hot wire it in
Mm-hmm.
at no cost to the town.
So they'll be permanently mounted.
Well, they're permanent to the point where we can move them if we wanted to, like relocate.
But then ATCO would have to,
Well, I've been on a tour with Mal Odette, and we designated what poles we wanted to have the power put to.
how many?
Like there's 8 poles,
Good, so you'll move them. Okay.
and there's 4 signs, so.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be based on volume of traffic, holiday weekends, stuff like that. But it'll be at the 4 exits to town, entrances to town.
That's all I have.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you ever so much.
I just wanna bring up one thing, we're working alongside the county for weed control this year. They supplied us, they paid for these 1,500 pamphlets. These will be going out in next month's bills. Like we're just gonna stuff the envelopes with these. And it's got a diagram of noxious weeds, prevention, and what to do and what not to do. So, hopefully they,
Will it fit the utility envelope?
yeah, they just fold them around, we have to fold them this way.
Ah, now they fit.
So they'll fit this way,
Yeah,
but not that way.
okay.
Think it outside the box.
Is there any, talk in the pamphlet about consequences or fines, or is it just telling people about weeds? Cause it may, like, are they actually realizing that it's something we want them to?
Yeah, and if it gets to be an issue, then we will be issuing a notice. So this is over and above. This is more of an information type thing of what to look for, and what these pretty little flowers look like. They're not they should not be planted in your garden, or, like some people will do that, but.
Does it state though that it's your responsibility to have these removed or to?
It has a website here, the Alberta website, invasiveplants.ab.ca, so that'll more or less tell you what prevention to do and what spray or whatever.
It just doesn't say there's a consequence. I guess that's where we
No,
going,
we-
was that
We'll be controlling that through our unsightly bylaw. But hopefully this will prevent.
Yeah, I just wonder if people will understand that there really, if we don't, that there is a bylaw about weed control,
Well-
right? Because I don't think I would have known that even before I started sitting in council meetings. I didn't think there was a bylaw about weeds. I mean, I knew you were supposed to, no, really, I didn't, but I've never had a weed issue. Never really thought about it, right? So that's what I'm saying, is if I got that, I don't know that I would know. I think it's great.
I've sent
It's
out
great
a
that-
pamphlet in just referencing the unsightly bylaw. And I've mentioned weeds and weed
just
control.
like just that correlation, right? Weeds
Yeah.
and the bylaw.
Like I can like resubmit it again and send them out again just to people now that it's that time of year. But yeah, these will be going out next month in the bills. So.
That's good.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Constable Bloom.
Thank you.
We have to vote on the received information first.
Yep. Make that motion. All those in favor? All those in favor? Carried.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, quick draw.
Thanks. I'd like to make a motion that council direct administration to request the peace officer to present the report in person quarterly on the last council meeting of March, June, September, and December, and that the peace officer present in person if a situation requires it.
We have a question from the.
We have a question from the floor.
There's just one meeting in December, which is the first Tuesday.
Yeah, it'll be the last one then. And it's not, it just says last meeting, cause I don't know, no dates then, cause they always bounce around. So if there's only one, that's the one.
You need that read again, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't read my
Might be a little slow.
Yeah.
Hear it again.
Okay, that council direct administration to request the peace officer present the report in person quarterly on the last council meeting of March, June, September, and December. And that the peace officer present in person if a situation requires it.
And their comments.
The way I hear that is he's coming 4 times a year
Yep.
in person. And then the second part of the motion is he's presenting in person, which is the first part of the motion.
No, the second part, if a situation requires it.
But he's only doing 4 reports.
Right. But he may also, no, he's doing all of his reports, but only in person.
He didn't say that.
He didn't say that. Yeah, that's what I was gonna add, is that he should be doing the
But he's
reports.
presenting his report in
Right.
person.
It might have been assumed that there's not monthly reporting done now.
That's the way I would have heard it. That's the way I did hear it.
We have to think about council.
Would you like to
down the
make a
road.
friendly amendment?
My friendly amendment is that the quarterly reports be presented in person, the monthly reports be
Written.
written as
Present the quarterly reports.
in person.
Okay.
And that
I accept the amendment.
monthly reports be attached to the agenda.
Any further discussion? Any input from,
Mr. Bloom,
No, I'm fine.
you good with it? Okay.
all those in favor?
Can we hear it
Carried.
back, actually?
Pardon?
Can we hear it back?
You've already
We've
voted.
already voted, but we can hear it back. If you'd like.
Yeah.
The council direct administration to request the peace officer present the report, the quarterly report in person. On the last council meeting of March, June, September, and December, 3, 6, 9, 12. And that peace officer present in person if a situation requires it.
What happened to the monthly?
It was there. I said quarterly. Well, the quarterly report,
In
which
person.
indicates that there is a monthly report. That's why it's only the quarterly.
Does it indicate?
We voted, right, so we
Do
can.
you wanna do
mark it.
semantics? We'll do
Yes.
semantics.
Well, no, it's, we
And that the
understand where
monthly
it's coming
reports
from,
be
but will the
attached
next
to-
council?
I think it should
You know
just
what?
start with the monthly report be attached to the agenda and that they present quarterly at a
Mr.
meeting.
Chair, the
See,
motion's been made and voted on, let's move on.
Yes.
And the motion,
Sorry, there's no more discussion, it's over.
your recording secretary got the right amount,
That's
got
good.
the right motion, not the one you read back.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but.
It's all good.
Okay, so when it comes back with some words in there that aren't, you know, you've got, okay. Councillor Danaka.
Make a motion that council receive the, fire chief's report for information.
Fire chief's not here, any questions pertaining to it? None, all those in favor? 2D, okay.
I would like to make a motion regarding this fire,
Alright,
and the motion reads the same as, put that back to
This one
police
here,
officer,
okay.
it's up to fire chief,
Okay.
so could you read
So-
it out?
Well, you'll see it in the minutes, and you can adjust the motion at that time.
Well, we'd like to hear.
Just throw the monthly part at
That
first.
council directs administration to request the fire chief's quarterly reports in person on the last meeting of March, June, September, and December's meetings, and that the fire chief report to council, monthly reports to be attached to the council packages.
And that he presents when necessary.
If the town burns down, we want him to come tell us.
If there's something pressing, right, that he has the freedom to come and present.
That's the same as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
does that suit your wishes, Mayor Cox? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 2D, page 12, Public Works, Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion to accept the public works report as presented.
You two guys staring each other down. Who's the good
Oh, well, your hand was up before mine.
Just a quick question in regards to the graded all alleys. Does that mean we just leveled them off, or did we dig down?
We scraped them down a bit and then leveled them off. They're not,
So not
we can't dig them down like you would a gravel road.
Okay.
Just to Councillor Ector, we get lots of complaints because the grass is always growing into the alleys, and when you grade them, of course, you're pulling clumps, and you gotta send the grader back to re-level it again, so. They do make a mess when they first do it, but you just gotta keep sending them back over and keep beating it up, so.
Councillor Danaka.
I just have a question. Alberta Environment Annual Inspection. What does Alberta Environment come to inspect? The lagoons and?
The whole water system.
Okay.
They go right through our plant, right through our record keeping, right through everything.
Okay. And, I did take a quick little drive down Resource there. That's a huge improvement to that road.
We still have some issues that will be part of the deficiencies that have to be addressed. We did a walk on Monday afternoon with the contractor, and they've been identified, and there's still some landscaping and stuff to be done there, but yes, that project is pretty much wrapped up.
Just further on that project, you work with the county on that too, then, as far as the deficiencies, they're aware, or,
I invited Vic to come along, he did not come.
but it is, that's a shared project, right?
Yep. That's if they accept our projects for the $1 million. So I'm crossing my fingers that it is, yeah.
Since we've already spent it.
How does that
Just-
agreement work? Do we have to, sorry,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna ask the same question that you were gonna ask is, I thought we were just supposed to be submitting some bills to the county for that. And have we submitted the bills and what's happened?
With West Fraser starting, we had a bill, or an email from Bill Landick to submit the bill. The Reeve did not sign the check until we start issuing progress certificates for the West Fraser, the 400,000 that they committed for West Fraser. As far as the agreement, it reads that they would support up to $1 million of capital infrastructure programs that are beneficial to both municipalities. And so far, it's all going to the intermunicipal on the 29th to have them ratify those projects.
And West Fraser's over and above that, cause that was for the
Yes,
previous year.
West Fraser's over and above that.
Oh,
But they did commit
You can take it to the intermunicipal.
last year to Resource Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's an issue, but we should.
Mayor Cox, and then Mr. Mass.
I thought we had something, that Mr. Tamaco, before he left, he actually, I thought he received in writing, these were the projects that we were going to put in, please approve them.
I haven't
No,
seen
Ever seen
that.
anything like that?
We haven't come across that yet, no.
Cause he was very concerned that this situation would arise if we didn't get the pre-approval of these are the projects we're submitting.
Yep.
You're not gonna have any problem with Railway Avenue or the Resource Road, but are there any other projects that we are,
Counting on their funds.
He's walking the trails to the new hospital.
okay?
That was one I think that was identified,
The lift
and
station,
51st Street.
or no, 51st Ave and 51st Street,
Yeah.
both which are under construction.
Okay.
And just to let council know, Vern and myself have been talking about projects that for next year, cause they wanna know well and ahead of time what projects are gonna be on board for us for next year, so we've identified a couple that we'll be looking at.
This is a learning curve on this first of the
me.
agreement, so I think we'll figure out what the protocol is.
Yeah, is the next intermunicipal still at the county, eh?
Yep.
It is on the 29th.
I wonder if we
next
throw
Monday.
that on the agenda though.
Like I'll phone Jessica and
We
if you want me to just to fill you in on the projects that we kinda looked at, it was 50th Street from Smitty's all the way down to J.C. Park. And the reasoning I picked that one, Vern and myself, because that's a major access road to the school, D.W. Pratt and Prairie River.
The pool.
To the aquatic center, to J.C. Park, Ball Diamonds, and the walking trails.
Oh,
So
that's your municipal.
their residents are definitely.
And the water line feeds the Hard River, water co-op.
Yes.
Oh,
So-
okay, that's good.
And any other?
So they want a justification of
Mhm.
how they could buy into them projects, so.
That project alone would probably eat up $1 million.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay,
And another one we looked at was the road on 49th Street from the museum down 2 blocks to the end of the Sports Palace parking lot. That section, and then we also looked at the
Sports
Sports
Palace
Palace
parking lot.
parking lot,
That would be nice.
and we also looked at the library parking lot. So we got projects that we're thinking of for the future, but we'll get a list and I'll get Jessica to submit it for the intermunicipal for discussion so that they know it'll be on the book so that they can't deny that it was never talked about.
yeah.
And then we can get feedback from them as to
Yeah.
what their councillors think.
And just a quick update on the other construction projects that are underway. The water line on 51st Ave has been put back into service. They're doing the base repairs and then they'll bring the milling machine later this week. Hopefully it'll be here, and then paving to follow next week. And that would be the same for 51st Street, from IGA up to the Prairie River Junior High School. It's the same contractor.
Is there an opportunity to fix that corner at UFA? Now that they've got some paving, can we patch it? properly at least? or-
We will be, if council passes the walking trail portion, we will be paving in that area anyway. So, the parts that you had raised, and just so everybody else knows what we're talking about, is Councillor Long raised the question of where we put some millings in where people are cutting the corner by the UFA to go east, and paving that. But actually, that's not part of the road allowance where we put that, it was just to protect the boulevard, so. It might be wiser to put in, traffic delineators like, I don't know what the word is, traffic markers, reflective markers, the white post.
Is that where that corner is and they're cutting too close, is that on private property then?
No, there's a slight boulevard that's there,
Okay.
but it's not part of the road.
That triangle that comes out like that with the trees, do we own that?
The triangle portion, yeah.
There's a fire hydrant.
Okay, so if we own the triangle coming out, and then there's the boulevard, and then there's the road, that means we own it all. Don't we?
But it's not part of the survey road right away.
Oh, it's not part of the roads.
Yeah,
Right,
It's
right.
become part of the road.
It's
I
become
know.
part of the road, yeah.
And it's because the trucks are turning, that they're pushing further and further
Well,
out.
everybody cuts that corner.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wide intersection and there's a lot of room there, I don't know why they continue to cut that corner. But. we
Put down
can
some of our spike belts.
Or rocks.
Well, are we laying them all along that, road out on A&W to stop them from,
We put rocks there.
did you know that? We have a whole supply of them.
Apparently.
And they're starting the West Fraser project, they started this past Monday. So they're getting ready to do the directional drill, probably early next week across the river. So that project is well underway as well. And hopefully everything will be wrapped up by middle of the month. End of the month.
Vern, what, you mentioned the sidewalk project, when does that start to the tender's in here?
Yes.
But, I'm curious, so as soon as that's done, then we can get moving on that. But what about, where is the sidewalk gonna be located, on which sides of the road?
It is going on the north side of Pleasant View Drive to the creek. And then there will be a crosswalk where there's a straight stretch of roadway. And it will shift to the south side or west side of that road. And then it will stay on the south side from UFA all the way to 40th Street.
And then the pedestrians have to cross again if they wish to go to the hospital, which was
Yep.
the intent for the
Yes.
sidewalk. It's just easier than staying on the north side all the way around, or north and east.
Yeah. It's less invasive because there's a sewer line in the shoulder of the road on the
East side?
east side.
Okay.
So the side. Never mind, got it. Had to visualize it. Any other questions, any other concerns, any other discussions, anything, points you wanna raise?
No, it's just, it's been a very busy month.
And you're doing a great job. Everybody is. Thank you. And motion to accept. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. And now we are into page 15. Is that correct? 14. Fifth Third Avenue, Pleasant View Drive, walkway, Councillor Rose, you have it.
The council awards the 53rd Avenue Pleasant View Drive walking path to Rowell Brothers Contracting, including option B for a total cost of $485,028.61, which includes engineering and contingency.
Councillor Evans.
Mr. Chair, I'm curious about the crosswalk. Everybody, when they're at a younger age, loves that road, cause it's got a nice big curve and all the rest. And sometimes build up a little too much speed and lose control. take out fences if you're an ambulance driver. But for that crosswalk, are we gonna put an overhead flashing lights? That's just as dangerous as.
At this time, we're only planning to put in signs
Okay.
at this point on either side of it. And it was chosen to be at that point because of where the sewer line starts.
Right.
And that is also a straight stretch of road.
So is that right across from like CN?
It'd be crossing right at the creek itself.
Right at the creek?
Where the house residential area starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just curious, we only had one bid on this?
Only one bid.
I wonder what's
There
going
was
on.
there is a local sub under Ruel, which I can't name at this point, but it will be a local person that is doing the base there. But there was only one bid, one general.
Any ideas
contractor.
why we'd only get one on this?
Knelson, because we are laying the asphalt ourselves, they're just supplying the asphalt. Knelson didn't wanna look at it because they don't find that there's any money in it unless they do the asphalt as well.
What's into that?
In reading the note from MPE where the recommendations, confirmation that TELUS can provide relocation, are there any affected lines in there?
There is, but we can't ask, they're coming out to give us an estimate tomorrow as to what they would charge, and that's part of the contract. But unless council decides to go with it, if you decide tonight not to go with it, we'll be phoning TELUS not to come tomorrow.
What's from that?
Can you give me the Reader's Digest version of why to make a sidewalk costs almost $500,000?
Originally, this was brought to administration by council as part of the budget deliberations. It was passed in the capital budget. It was part of the original walking trail extensions as well. And with the hospital going out there, I'm sure we're gonna see increased pedestrian traffic on that road.
I think she really wants to know how come they're charging us that much for cement.
It's not cement.
Or
Asphalt. Because we have to do the base work, which takes in filling in most of that ditch.
Are we gonna be laying fabric down?
Yes.
Okay,
Mayor Cox?
I have two concerns with this. One is, actually three. I was under the impression when it went into the capital budget that it was going to be discussed again before it went to tender. This is a lot of work for what I thought was going to be a discussion on whether or not we were actually going to proceed with this project. The decision on whether we were going to proceed with this project or not was going to be based, at least as far as I remember, on the amount of pedestrian traffic that was going to occur or is occurring on that, for which I believe Public Works was going to do a student count or use the summer students to actually count and see how many people were using that. Although different people have said, yes, there's lots, I would actually feel a lot more comfortable if I actually knew how many. And the third one is, now that I find out that this is part of the $1 million for the 2015 year from the MD, I'm hesitant to go ahead with this unless it's actually confirmed that the MD is going to cost share in this.
The only traffic count that I recall that we were supposed to have was for this intersection over here. That's the only one that I recall. And it wasn't anything to do with this one out there.
I think in the long run, it's good forward planning. It's gonna get more and more traffic on it, it's gonna be more heavily utilized, especially with the hospital. It's a good forward plan. I think it's essential. Councillor Enter.
I'm not sure how much traffic will increase through the hospital. It may be quite a bit. I do find that road very dangerous because of that curve, because of the speed and all the rest. I'm in a damned if I do and damned if I don't, because I don't wanna spend $500,000 with everything else we've gone through this spring and with all the questions that are going on. But if somebody gets hit on there and we had a chance to go ahead and put that sidewalk in, then what? So, maybe if we don't do it, we do it next year, right? Cause the hospital won't be opening for another year also. I don't know.
But then we run into the same problem, that if we don't do it this year, it's gonna be that much more expensive next year. And you're due if you're damned if you don't sort of scenario, if it plays out next month, how do you feel then?
That is true what Chairman Long said. We are going to, in order to bring the cost of this down, we did, because the asphalt plant is gonna be here, we are using our own trucks and our own forces to lay the asphalt. So next year, if we wait and the asphalt plant isn't here, it will be more expensive.
Vern, what was the difference between Schedule A site work and Schedule B optional Southwest site works?
20,000.
And
What is the difference between it?
Yeah.
It's extending from the portion along the highway where the sidewalk ends at Joe Lansky's to UFA as well. And that's what Schedule B is. In front of Northern Lakes College along the highway.
Councillor Rose, then Cox.
With the crisscrossing, I mean, I agree that it's a very dangerous strip of road, and it gets avoided sometimes by, young people. I'm sure that you would probably say to your kids, don't use it because of the fact that there is no sidewalk or there's no safe place to walk. So it will get used when there's a trail. And if we're going to force this sort of crisscross, is it a very much more expensive process to keep it all along one side of the road to avoid that?
What it is if we ever have to dig the sewer line, then we're digging up the trail, and then it'll add cost in the future.
If you have to dig it up.
Yeah.
And what about, we're talking about doing asphalt just like the trails, right? So this is basically just a trail extension. So what are we gonna do different to avoid some of the
Filter
concerns?
fabric.
Is that will make all the difference in the world? We won't see that cracking in roots and all that kind of stuff.
I'll give you 99%. I'm not gonna say you're not gonna see it. It also depends on the gravel. When it comes out, there's seeds within the gravel, there could be issues. But most of what causes it on the walking trails are the willows. And this will force the willows around the asphalt rather than up through it.
And Mayor Cox.
My question was answered by reading the motion. So, I don't have a question there, but I'm still concerned that this is a $458,000 project that could fall back completely on us because we haven't got any confirmation from the MD that they are willing to let us use this as part of $1 million.
What's the time frame on it then? Like, do we have time to go to intermunicipal and have them get approved? Can we approve it subject to the MD approving it? Cause that might be the way to go. And then we put it on their table, they have to make a decision on it, and we get an answer.
They've already deferred their sidewalk and their lighting down there. I don't know. Although $1 million is
It's already in the books for us, right? So then it's their council deciding that this is a worthy project, that this is one they wanna
And
participate in.
it's only 100,000 of that million that would be utilized here.
only 100,000. Okay. So if we had to suck
That's what
it
we
up,
broken it down to, yeah.
So we could put it on the agenda for the intermunicipal.
then
and
it
see
still
what
has
that-
to go to their council.
Right, that's why I'm asking about the timeline.
Yeah.
The longer we delay it, the chances they will be finished with the asphalt plant here. And again, costs will go up. So, like I say, this project was brought to administration by council, and we've just followed through after the final budget was passed. The final capital budget was passed, we just followed through with what we thought.
Councillor Tanaka, then Mayor Cox.
If I remember correctly, what was budgeted for this was 515,000.
Yeah. So,
Right, it says right there.
Mayor Cox.
back to the way the capital budget is approved. We put the projects in, but we don't necessarily know if we're gonna go ahead with them because it is based on whether the bids come in too high, whether they come in low, more information that we might have asked for. So even though that is in the capital project, to say, yeah, let's go ahead and do it, I don't think that that could be the protocol, but it's not working because here we are ending up with a contract that is ready to be signed, basically. It is ready to be signed?
The
No,
contracts
it's-
haven't been put together.
It would be, it's ready to be,
It's been tendered,
yes.
and that's where we're at in the process.
So, it's moved quite a ways. We're gonna end up with engineering costs.
Yep.
And it's moved further than what I had thought it would have, although we approved it for the capital budget. So I'm not sure how you have to put the money in at the beginning of the year, but how do you stop it from incurring too much work before you actually have said, yes, we're going with this? And I think that's why.
Right at this point is where it was approved in the interim capital budget, and it was again approved in the final capital budget. So we've treated it no differently than any of the other projects, unless council at that point identifies it as a project and it goes on the capital budget with a caveat on it, subject to further
Okay.
information.
Because I will remember that next year.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure, I can see what you're saying about it's a good part of the walking trail. It is an asset to the community. I'm just thinking, I hope if we go ahead with this that we do see more people using it. Cause I don't see anybody now using that.
At this point right now, we have no pedestrian access to the east end of town. It ends at Joe Lansky's.
It's a good point.
Any further discussion?
Just a quick clarification and possibly friendly amendment. So the motion itself, does that include the conditions of the engineering firm? So that if TELUS tells us that they can't move the lines and or it's gonna cost $500,000 to move the lines?
They're coming to give us an estimate and we can say, no, we're not gonna pay that, and that's where this will stop. We won't sign the contracts until we hear from TELUS.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to what's the break point?
Their estimate to do any work that they have to do in
Yeah.
there.
So if they come back at 50,000,
Well, we do have the contingency of 50,000 there,
and I think about that.
but I don't wanna spend any of that contingency.
Okay, that's it.
Call the question. Would you like to read it back? It's right there. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And minutes of the June 9th, 2015 regular meeting, page 19 of agenda 3A. Counselor.
Make a motion, council approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on June 9th, 2015 as presented.
Discussion. Counselor Dinac.
Page 26. Motion 390/15 and 391/15. It's a duplicate motion to go in camera.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Martinson would like to speak.
There was supposed to have been a point in there after motion 391-15 that Chairperson Long called a 10-minute recess at 10:03. I don't see it in mine, but yeah.
Well, there was a.
Oh, yeah.
At 9,
Or 9:48.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think though that motion 391 is required because we don't make a motion to go back in camera when we're already in camera, even though we took a recess. That's all. I think it is a duplicate.
Yeah.
One has the time and one doesn't. I would remove the one that has no time.
So,
We just followed the motions that were in the previous agendas, so that's the way they were put in, so.
I would strike, we must then we make a motion to go to camera again. So I would strike motion 390/15, which is mine. There was one other thing.
You wanna renumber? What do you do?
Any further discussion?
Mr.
Earth
Chair,
shattering, groundbreaking.
there was, something in motion, it's about the library, if I recall correctly. Or no, it was about the CRC. Where is that motion?
374/15.
You got it? You fixed it? Okay.
No, I didn't fix it.
Oh.
I got it written down there.
Okay,
Chairperson Wong. Councilor Epker's motion was that Councilor Epker, that council, purchased a CRC North property in the amount of $53,755.76 from accumulated surplus. That's not reimbursed the children.
that's right. It's a purchase, not a reimbursement. Okay. Yeah.
And the amendments, motion to,
Well, we had the motion to approve as presented, so
I'd like to make it, as amended.
as amended. All those in favor? Carried. And finance, 5A. Counselor Tanaka.
The council waived the taxes and arrears in the amount of $737.70 on roll number 435-700.
Mayor Cox.
I have a question regarding the land. The history of this land, can you give me a little bit of information as to why the, government of Alberta, why did this land end up as municipal reserve land?
I can't answer it.
Okay.
That, was an old power generation station where the, I think Bill Salisbury still owns that property, where the food bank is located right now, is on the CFT 43
Yep.
on that part. Yeah, so I don't know if they acquired that part of the, but in previous years, the town was paid it in a grant in lieu. And there's other properties that they've also mentioned to us that are in the same situation as this one.
How big is it?
It is
17
meters, 17.5 meters by 27.5 meters, so
Nice chunk.
50
So-
feet by 75, a little over 80 feet.
And who is cutting it now?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh, who's cutting this grass now? Who's looking after it?
I could be Henry Jobs, who owns the property lot 4.
And may be using it, or is it empty?
It's empty.
Okay. So what are we going to do with it going forward?
Going forward, there will be no taxes on that property. It will be exempt.
And we have title?
No, government is.
Government of Alberta has title. Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Any further discussion? Looking awfully pensive.
Well, I'm just sitting here and I think what Mayor Cox was getting at was, it just seems like a waste of land sitting there and what, you know, can we get it from the government? Can we sell it to the person so they can expand their lot and use it? As opposed to being this part of land that's just sit there and being cut and not used, cause there's a couple of properties that might be interested in purchasing that and this is the property. Yeah, so, oh, this looks like the.
Yeah, but this one here could be, this bit here could be added to this part.
Oh, yeah, you could
And then-
add some to this one and
You
some
could
to
do it
that
on
one.
But that's up to the government to, it's not our property to sell or,
Well, I just wanna
Can
know
we
if we should,
approach the government to get that given to us?
I guess I can try.
if they're not doing anything with it,
If
they never will.
We could ask, I mean, no harm.
But it's got no contamination to the site, I guess, because of the old power generation station that used to be there, I don't know.
So that would be the only thing, we could be buying an environmental issue.
Mayor Cox, then Councillor Rose.
It's a municipal reserve, so we should be looking, if we're going to ask for it, we should be looking at it as perhaps a park for the residents of this portion of our community who have no park, whatever, on this in this land. So, and I think that would probably be a reason why the government may transfer title to us if we were to say that's what we wanna do.
Councillor Rose, Councillor Panasic,
I'm fine.
you're fine? Okay. Councillor Panasic, Councillor Apter.
Okay, I guess maybe what I'm not sure, is this a roadway in here?
That's a
Tricia?
creek bed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So this is basically a landlocked little piece. There's no access to it, so I don't know if you could have a park in there, right? Like,
I know this ditch, the creek bed does at times a high flow, it does come up quite high, so.
yeah, but there's no place to access that unless you're crossing this land or somebody's property to get there. So I don't know if a park is gonna be a good use for it, but I still think we should ask and then see if we can get it out of the system, apply it to one of those properties, and then it's dealt with and being managed and somebody's cutting the weeds on it. Sorry.
Councillor Nacker.
I'm just saying, we have a motion on the floor right now, is are we gonna do the arrears or not? If you want the government, the administration to do the government, that's a separate vote.
Point well taken. That being said, any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Mr. Chair,
Councillor Panasic.
I'll make a motion that administration request the town take control of that land from the province, make a request to the province to take over that land. And then once we have it, we could try to sell it, that's what I, but just that we see if we can get it.
It might be more than what the efforts put into it if it's an old power generation.
Well, to look into it.
And everything else.
That's right, I'm just saying, find out what the issues are around it.
Council- Okay, Councillor Rose and then Mayor Cox.
I was just wondering, cause what I had sort of thrown out there was the environmental issue, cause sometimes what we've seen is that people are stuck with pieces of land because of the environmental concerns, and I mean, we could ask for it and they could say, yeah, sure, you guys want it, we'll give it to you. But who are we gonna employ at this point to find out whether there is any environmental issues with its previous use prior to, cause the government's not going to tell it, like I mean, they may have some information on it, but I mean, all we're gonna do is ask for it, and they say, yes, we could inherit.
Mayor Cox.
If there's no access and we end up with it, well, how are we gonna access to cut it, to keep it? I mean, right now,
but the intent isn't to keep it, the intent is to split it and sell it, or sell it as a chunk
and if
to
it,
the people that are there.
and if it's still, if it doesn't get sold during the process, we still don't have any access to it. I think, myself, I think I would let sleeping dogs lie if they, let the government of Alberta, who owns the land, let them figure out what they wanna do.
Well, they're not gonna do anything with it, they probably don't even remember they own it,
That's true.
right? It's just sitting there.
Some of these days, they don't wanna waive the taxes.
There's that vacant land tax.
What kind of power generation was it?
It was years ago, I have no idea.
Mr. Walker.
I think what was there is they stored some of the transformers and stuff there.
Yeah.
That used to be an ATCO site for, like they have over next to their existing building. And I think that poles were stored there, I think there was, transformers that were stored there.
PCBs.
CVs.
PCBs.
So,
creosote.
that wasn't a power generation site, it was their authority on it. So,
What I could do, pardon me, what I could do is maybe check with Mr. Salisbury, cause he purchased the property before, and if he did get a clear title, I could check with him, cause I don't think they would've sold it to
And-
previous property owners if. there
and when
wasn't
Mr.
that.
Salisbury, bought that, ATCO did do some cleanup to the property that they did sell him.
Did you read the motion back?
Administration requests the town of High Prairie to make a request to the government of Alberta regarding CT 43T.
Mr. Chair, the recording secretary is.
Sorry, you looked at me.
So when you looked at me, I went,
well, I wrote it down.
That is administration to request the town of High Prairie make a request to the government of Alberta to take over the land title.
Can we make a friendly amendment that it be subject to, administration
Environment.
reviewing some environmental concerns that could be attached to it prior to asking? Does that sound too confusing?
Why don't we just have a motion that says investigate options?
I'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Can I just change it to?
I'm fine with saying investigate options, just to find out what are those environmental concerns are, and then we can see if the government would even consider it, so that's all I was thinking of.
Well, cause the whole process could even involve the government saying yes, and we'll pay for, you know, the level 1 cleanup that needs to be done for it, and then
Sure.
we've got a clean piece of
Yeah.
land and it's done.
So we have that in the amendment for the motion.
Can we read mine?
Between the two,
Go ahead.
That administration investigate options.
Purchasing lot 6MR.
okay.
Okay.
So we're investigating options to purchase lot.
6MR.
I don't know if
6
we
MR.
would, purchase is fine, I think of getting it handed over, but it's the same idea.
For $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You gotta
options,
read
okay. That's all we're doing is investigating options.
Okay.
And bring back to the future meeting.
All those in favor? Carried.
Mr. Chair.
Next on, we have page 31, waiving tax penalty, Mr. Ken Bozeman, Counselor Emter.
The council receives for information the request from Ken Bozeman to waive the tax penalties for tax roll number 376504, unit number 204, 4646 55th Avenue.
Discussion. Counselor Durant.
I just have one question. Did Mr. Bozeman know that he was late from his 2014 taxes until he got this year's taxes, and then it showed him that he was late?
No, it's, in his tax notice, you'll see that there was 2 penalties, I believe.
Sorry, I'm confused.
And interest, yeah.
My question was, is, so
We didn't notify him he was outstanding.
that's what I'm saying.
That he was late.
Was he
The check was
notified
received
that
late.
until he got his 2015 tax bill, which was the one that just went out in May, right? This, just like May 2015? Was he notified beforehand that
That
he was in arrears of X amount of dollars before this tax assessment went out?
I don't believe they are.
You don't believe they are notified if they're late? Like, so we don't send a bill that says, you still owe us money?
We just add it to next year's taxes and that's the bill.
But it doesn't accumulate throughout the year, it's just this is your
Yeah.
penalty, right? So the penalty's the same that it would have been.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's different if it's gonna accumulate, but we're not gonna send out another notice that says, you know, you owe us money.
Counselor Durant.
my concern with this is the fact that if I own property in town, as a scenario, if I own property in town but lived out of town, I set my payment in believing in time that it would get there and figured, okay, well, it's got there, I'm good. And then I get my next year's assessment and I'm in arrears for being late, but I didn't know that. I think somebody should have told me that. Unless that's just, personally, that's just my opinion.
Mr. Chair, it wouldn't matter if he's late one day or if he's late 5 months and 30 days. It's the same penalty, it's the exact same financial cost. There's no benefit, he's still gonna owe the same amount, cause it was paid late. And as he's notified us, his check was posted 3 days after the close. So he could have called and said, hey, I noticed it just went through, does that mean I was late?
He got that statement from the bank that said it was posted late.
Right. So he could have investigated, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because he was 3 days late.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Carried.
Oh, you
Oh.
didn't, Mr. Chair? We had one opposed?
That was opposed? Okay. I didn't see unanimous.
Make a motion that council authorize that tax grant in the amount of $17,298.97 to be waived for the High Prairie Seed Cleaning Co-op tax account roll 405342.
Discussion. This one, Jeff.
To discuss.
Keep on talking about it.
Stuck.
The seed cleaning plant, we're in and paid the $5,445.28, which is the Lex levy, the Heart River housing levy, and the school levy.
Just, I know we've talked this over and over, but I mean, just again, and I mean, this is probably not the right time with having an interim CAO, and we did discuss that there was a clause in their agreement that says that it can be amended from time to time based on mutual sort of discussion, right? That hasn't happened. We sit here and, or has it actually happened?
Councillor Hunter, Councillor Tanaka.
Our previous CAO reported they did present, and that's as far as it went. I do have a concern or a question, not a concern, that in the statement dated May 21st, 2009, signed by our previous mayor, the town of High Prairie and High Prairie Seed Cleaning Co-op, the town promised the co-op to provide for reduced property taxes, something comparable to what the co-op would have paid if the new facility had been built in the MD.
With the same tax rate?
That's what the statement says. But then it got changed later to 10 years, no tax.
That's what I mean, like there is a clause that allows an opportunity for discussion because it's probably, maybe wasn't entirely the intention.
Well, no, the intention was that they pay comparable tax. Comparable still means you pay tax, not a waive of tax. So they have saved, say $100,000. Whereas if they'd have been in the MD, they'd have paid $85,000, right? So they're $85,000 to the good.
And from what I recall, there was some discussion, we had asked, because their AGM was coming up, and we had asked to be part of that, if I'm not mistaken, and there was some issues going back and forth that the CAO at the time said he didn't receive any confirmation or whatever, and it just went back and forth, and we missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have that opportunity coming up here, I think in October again, would be to present this, to see if they're amenable to maybe looking at the agreement.
The agreement, I can't read it, but it is it just 2018 or 19?
2018, isn't it? Yeah, it ends
2018.
2018.
there now going to be also an interest against this municipal portion? Okay, so the motion
They're
doesn't.
looking to get it waived, so you waive that portion.
So then the
Yeah.
penalty would be waived also?
Yeah.
We had actually already waived this in the previous council meeting,
That's what I thought too.
so I'm not sure why it's back, but I'd rather just waive it again anyway. We did waive this
Because
about
part of the agreement
2
is
months
they
ago
have
we
to
waived
write
it.
a letter
That's right.
once they
And
get
we
the
have the
assessment.
meeting.
And that's what they're doing, they're writing the assessment, asking for the.
Was that during the budget deliberations where you, this come up and then you said you were gonna waive it when it come
No, I think we actually
to
did say it
forgive
was.
the taxes?
For some reason, I remember that too, but
Yeah.
I couldn't remember when and didn't look it up.
I thought it was during the
It could have been,
Right in the budget.
yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Carried. And from there, we go on to page 48, 5B, Administration, Elks Pro Rodeo Sponsorship. Counselor Tanaka had her hand up.
The council received the Elks Pro Rodeo sponsorship package for information.
Discussion. Mayor Cox.
I guess we're back to, this is the premier event of the year for our town. It's one of the, and don't we have money in our budget for this? This was one of the ones that was agreed to in the grant allocation. So the money was agreed to at budget time for for a sponsorship package. We do have money in the budget for it because it was allocated at budget time. And I feel myself, this is there's only about 5 through the year that the town of High Prairie is really front and center, and this is one of those times. So for us not to sponsor them sends a terrible message to our community saying that we don't think that they're important to our business, to our community, to our residents.
Which one are you looking at sponsoring? Counselor Empter.
Okay. I was quite surprised. It appears that the last time we sponsored was in 2009. I thought we've sponsored this every year. It was, I believe, approved by council, a majority at least, because it is for the whole community. There's no special interest groups, there's no piecemeal or anything like that. It is one of the top 2, if not the largest single event in town of High Prairie. Brings a lot of people, a lot of dollars to the community. But we also contribute, as it says in here, through public works, assistance, taking down banners, raising banners, and everything else. Like that is sponsorship also. Hopefully we're recognized for that, or public works is at least. Doesn't have to come back to us, but I mean, we are a part of it. We really are.
And I agree. I think we give in kind, and I think that as a council and even as town employees, I mean, everybody steps up and goes and attends the event, right? And we do go as, although we're not like official councillors in a small community, you don't go anywhere without people realizing that that's who you are. So we are there, we are supporting that. I don't think it's a lack of support. I don't think it's sending that message that we're not supporting events. I think it's sending a message that we made a sponsorship policy and we're trying to be prudent with taxpayers' dollars, and we have to be careful about where we spend money. And this isn't we want a donation because we can't run the event. It is here you go, you give us money and we're going to give you tickets and we're going to give you advertising, we're going to give you complimentary drink tickets, and like this is what these sponsorship packages are all about. Like when you're buying something, it's not a request for funds to they're not going to be able to operate without us kind of thing. I do agree with you though, it is one of the events if you're going to sponsor something, if you're going to be part of that. But sponsorship is different than making a donation or a grant request to have an event or an organization stay alive. This is their opportunity to make money, and they're selling us a sponsorship. So then we have to make decisions. Who gets the 8 complimentary drink tickets, and do we like this is where we got into this. Let's have a policy in place that we just don't spend taxpayers' dollars on and we can offer them, website advertising, we can offer them, signage, electronic signage, like we can offer a lot of in-kind support that says that we're supporting these, you know, we're supporting and encouraging the event.
Do I have any other discussion on this?
There is a motion on the floor.
I'm just wondering, I'm trying to go back and I can't remember, did we set money aside for this in the budget deliberations? Or was this part of that? I can't remember.
Under line 21177, council has grants to organizations and individuals in the amount of $43,500. I'm not quite sure exactly who all those grants are earmarked for though. Some of them are earmarked already.
So there's, sorry Vern, how much in that account?
43,500.
43,000, did it?
43,500.
Well, that's lots of money in there.
Of which
Those are all
council,
earmarked.
council's year-to-date actual, at the end of May is $2,000.
So, I guess we still don't really know if we approved it, or I can't remember. I know we've gone around these so many times, it's hard to remember if we did approve this at the budget time.
It was approved. It was one of the ones that was
It
approved.
was one of them that was
So-
approved.
Yeah.
A part of that 43,000.
$2,000, yeah. Because we asked, what did we approve last year?
That's right.
And then it came in at $2,000.
At what amount?
Two.
$2,000. Because they asked, we asked, what was last year's?
When I checked with payables the last time that we sponsored the event was in 2009, according to payables.
That's interesting.
I thought we did last year and we gave away the tickets.
Thought we had
We
tickets.
raffled, well, they
Well,
did a
they went
raffle
to
on
the-
Facebook. So, yeah.
What we did.
I'm fairly certain we did last year and we
We
gave
had
away
the,
tickets.
we had Council
Radio.
Carrier made the motion to have them given away through the radio station.
Did that actually happen? Did we actually even
Yes,
sponsor and?
I do
you know,
remember
Yeah.
hearing some of the,
It never went through the radio station, it was a draw on Facebook.
well, I'm sure it was the radio station, but
Am I doing
either
it
way,
right
we're
now?
getting
I was
away from
waiting,
what
I was
we
watching
did.
you.
It was a draw on Facebook the last 24 hours, because people were wondering about it, and the last 24 hours, it was whoever placed, and then there was a draw, and that morning, they had to come in here and pick them up, is how it was done.
I
And
stand
it was
corrected, thank you.
$2,000
Didn't
was
follow the
what was
motion.
approved,
So glad you're here.
so, thank you. Cause I tried to get them.
I'm gonna try too.
Who made the motion back?
To receive for information.
It was, yeah. I tend to agree with Mayor Cox. I mean, this is a Premier League. This is our one big event.
In
So
your
just to
opinion.
receive, in my opinion.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
It was just one part of our discussion, and I think we just need to be careful, was we have to then pick and choose, in everybody's opinion, what is the premier events in the area, which ones are worthy of money, which ones are, we told a High Prairie Chamber of Commerce that we couldn't even give them one person to go to a meeting to help out that group that's struggling. So we're saying to the business community, no, we can't help you, we can't afford to do that. So, but we can throw $2,000 at an advertising event? I mean, like I said, there's two sides, right?
Yeah. No further discussion? Call a question. To receive for information, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion defeated.
Mr. Chair,
Councillor Hunter.
I'd like to make a motion that council picks the $2,000 major sponsorship for the Elks Pro Rodeo.
discussion?
Could you say your motion again, please?
Yeah, that council, picks the $2,000 major sponsorship for the Elks Pro Rodeo.
If I may, for 2,000, I think I'd be turning it down and voting against it, but if we went 700, it addresses some of the concerns that Councillor Rose brought up. One, it gives a sponsor signage, displayed. It gives us the name mention on the rodeo program, and during the breaks, the announcer will give plugs. And there's no tickets to worry about, there's no VIP passes, there's no, any of that to be concerned about. Mayor Cox.
If you don't take the 2,000, you don't get your flag in the grand entry. If you don't get your flag in the grand entry, you might as well not even sponsor. So you either put your flag in the entry, in the grand entry, and let everybody know that you're one of the major sponsors of this rodeo, or else, what is it they say? You either play big or go home. So,
Councillor Rose.
I disagree with the fact that if we advertise, I mean, I don't agree with any sort of sponsorship because I think we're going against our policy. But I agree that if you spend less money, one, you're right, you have less of those issues to deal with, which are the drink tickets, the VIP passes, all the things that they're selling, because basically you're buying that with your sponsorship, right? And then all we'd be doing is sort of giving them away. But that I see the next item on the agenda is to have the mayor speak at the event, attend the event, and be given 2 free tickets to go. Would that not be a representation of the town of High Prairie at the event? If the mayor of High Prairie is there speaking?
I would be totally embarrassed to go and speak if we didn't even have our flag in the grand entry. Like, what are you doing here? You wouldn't even sponsor us, but you're going to come? I don't know, if I was the Elks, I'd withdraw the invitation.
So the Elks really just wants the money, they don't really want the representation from the town.
I think you're asking a lot of an organization that is.
Maybe, and again, maybe this is something we can look at for next year, sit down with Elks and say, how can we sit down with you and have an in-kind contribution in lieu of, and making it as fiscally responsible, but at the same time contributing.
This event actually goes around and requests volunteers, sponsors throughout the whole community. There's a lot of involvement here. It's not like some of the other participants or events that come up and they just want cash to help them with their one single event, which could be specific or not specific, but they haven't asked anybody else. They just want to ask a couple people and be done with it. These guys get everybody involved, right? And the businesses, although we're only putting 2,000 in and we didn't give it to the chamber, that's going to bring a lot of business to town again. It really does. Like, this is our single biggest event for draws for people to this town. There's a lot of money spent now, 2 days.
One more question. We don't have a sponsorship policy, did we? Didn't think so. We don't have a sponsorship policy.
Sponsorship policy, that's.
No, it's supposed to come back, it's ongoing.
We're waiting for the chair of the policy and bylaw committee to bring it.
Councillor
It was
Carrier
referred. I
asked,
remember that distinctly.
Councillor Carrier asked administration to come back with a policy of in-kind as opposed to financial, and it's still ongoing.
Oh, I thought we approved part of it and that was just the in-kind part that we were trying to define. Sorry, I'm confused.
I can't remember, but it's on the CAO's action list there anyway.
I think we'll bring it back next week.
Call the question.
Call the question. We have it read back, please.
The council pick the $2,000 major sponsorship package for the Elks Pro Rodeo.
All those in favor? Opposed? Ties, defeated. Alrighty, are we just gonna leave it at that?
Well, I would make a motion that we go with one of the lower sponsorship package, the $700 one or the, I don't know what we would do with the $1,500 one, because we end up with passes that we don't really need unless we wanna advertise and give them out on behalf of the town. But to give something of a lower amount out, I would be in agreement of.
You need to pick one.
Okay. If we wanna get the marketing and the promotion stuff to get some passes that we could give away on behalf of the town, I keep changing my mind here.
Can I interject just for a second, Ben? Is that? Oh, I know
Make a
you says you're struggling.
I'm struggling either that,
Do you know one thing, and we could actually leave it to administration to investigate, because we could step outside the sponsorship package and make an offer of a donation for the opportunity to have our flag at the event. Cause we're not looking for all the advertising, we're not looking for all this big package, right? But that's important, if that's important, that's how we wanna contribute, and that's how we wanna be recognized. Maybe they would make some sort of specialized, okay, you know, you guys will give us $1,000 and this is what you want, and we'll, you know, we can have this customized sort of situation that then we're really just giving them a grant. We're not asking for sponsorship, we're only asking for the opportunity for High Prairie to have their flag at the event. Does that?
To have the signage, electronic sign advertising for them, to have our website advertising.
To have our employees do the banners and the traffic control and everything else,
And that we
which
can
is a
still make.
dollar amount.
Dollar
Put
value.
on that and say, for this, we want to have a flag in there.
Exactly. And maybe just leave it for
Well,
more investigation to see if we could do that.
sure, I would be all right with that. I'd like to do something, but you know, to get all of these other things, which, you know, for 2,000, it is just a grant, giving it to them, which we don't need it all, but I agree, we're doing lots for them, and I think if we can promote putting it on the website, putting it on the e-sign, on the other things that we do, and for that and the mayor going to speak at the event and having our sign in would all be great, so we do
Okay,
contribute.
so craft that motion.
Okay, did you catch all of that, Brian? I don't blame you, cause
Direct administration
I
to
got
approach
moved by
the
Councillor
Yep.
Panasek to ask administration to contact the Elks
right, regarding a donation
in kind.
in kind for the road.
And express an interest in having our flag.
Yes.
Who's the chair of the rodeo?
Jerry,
Who?
Jerry Clean.
Jerry King?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in the motion, but I would say just to go along with the other things that we will offer them, which is the sign, the the website.
And then we don't need any of this, any of these tickets.
Yeah, we don't
Tri-
need the
nothing.
tickets.
All we
Yeah.
need is to have our
The flag.
flag. That's what we're looking for.
Take a 10-minute recess.
Oh, we gotta vote.
Oh, we still have to vote on this first. Clearly my mind was somewhere else.
Yes.
And we have it all written out there now, Brian?
Read it back to
Recording
you.
secretary or?
Moved by Councillor Panasek to ask administration to contact the Elks regarding a donation in kind for the Elks Pro Rodeo.
In exchange for our flag,
In exchange,
our flag rebranding.
Customize a sponsorship package or donation package.
what is the reason on that?
You could say customize a
Customized
a
package.
donation that, yeah,
Just leave
Is
it like that,
agreeable or
let
something.
let them negotiate it.
yeah.
Alrighty.
I'm just about ready to vote.
You ready?
Yeah, I got it.
Could you read it back to us, please, since you spent so much time writing it?
Moved by Councillor Pancic, asking administration to contact the Elks regarding an donation in kind for the Elks Pro Rodeo in exchange of sponsor, the flag, and the grand entry. Town High Parade flag.
All those
Yeah.
in favor? Carried. I'd like to call 10-minute recess.
Now that's called a good compromise on all of you.
Yeah.
Good result.